Regarding our AIRS Innovator implementation, we launched it in 2009 as our parts manager in terms of parts information, part attributes, part documentation, etc. So it's a big catalog. Currently has 110,000 parts, and growing. So I want to give you an overview of what the change request process looks like, which is really the heart of our change management process. What happens in the change request process is that an engineer proposes a change. Now, that includes what parts are affected, maybe markups, a description of what the change is, that's happening to those parts. Then we have to address manufacturing feasibility. We have to address recurring or non-recurring costs. Pricing information, if this is a customer-driven change, we actually have to quote these changes to our customer. And then approvals. But looking at the top of it is really the part where the engineer proposes a change. And then it gets into what I would summarize as a CM2 technical review, where we review not only the investment, but also the feasibility of the change. And finally, after that happens, we get into the change review board process where the change is being approved for implementation. The key part here is that we have a couple of parts in the workflow where it says, if required over there. There are some things that are even optional depending on the type of part. So there are parts in the workflow that use the program item type to figure out whether it needs to involve those inputs or ask for them from team members or not. In other words, this thing is fully configured and driven by the linkages and relationships to either plans or programs that are affected in the change. This is the key linkage. A part to a program, parts belong to programs, parts belong to plants. Every program has a team set up. So every location has a relationship to parts. And that's how we figure out which locations are involved. So if the affected parts in the CR are tied to the location, then the team members that are tied to that location get involved in the workflow. So to put it in context here, when we do a change request has affected parts. Then after the engineer proposes the change request, those affected parts are added. When they do the submission, we're going to see, okay, so what programs are affected, and then who are those team members? Then, depending on which plants make those parts that are affected, then these are the other team members that are assigned to locations that need to be involved. This is a key part of the automation and making the system really intuitive for the engineer.